don't connect the negator, pa, with the step, pa. Same word, same source. There's a good long story that has, you can approach it from various directions, separate in the mind. And if, this is not a scientific proof that it's separate, but it's a rule of thumb that seems to work. So with plume, I'm going to predict that it's probably the same entry, but I'm going to look because I should have. When you get to English pen, you start finding something slightly more interesting. Because, of course, the word meaning what adorns birds is feather, which parenthetically is linked to the Greek ter, as in helicopter, a turning feather. I'll just give you that as etymology for fun. In Old English, you get a word pen, which is either long feathers or short feathers, but you get feather and pen, and it has differentiated into two separate kinds. So your first example there from 1486, which is, the OED says, the only example of pen as feather where it's nicely contrasted with oh dear, I am very sorry. I cut off half of it. I should have reread, I should have checked it one more time. You have it in English then, although hawks do not tear at bones until they might fly. You can get that as the first sentence. Then when she begins to grow, and I'm sorry I cut off the Old English, feathers and plumes. And it's two words, plumus and panis are the two words. Plumus from the French, panis from the Old English, and they contrast with each other. They're two different kinds of feathers. However, even earlier than that, you've got the transformation at a time when panis were feathers to the word pen meaning a writing instrument. So that you've got the 1387, Julius Caesar's hand was able, or as able with, or as talented with, as apt with the pen as with the sword. You thought that was a modern expression, a modern comparison. There you've got it. And then it gets more abstract in English, so that you get this nice 1992 example. Many of these tracts had come from the pen of the man now shaking my mitt, shaking my hand. There's no physical pen here. By 1992, it was probably a computer anyway, but what it means is from the creative ability. When you pen something, originally it was writing it, and then becomes whatever writing means, as in the creation, with no real necessity to say it was handwritten with a pen. So you've got these various more abstract extensions in English, and a split, and that's the point I wanted to make about the English. We no longer use pen for feather, except possibly in very, very technical bird hunting and bird raising. I think it's still used there. But there's no connection for the ordinary user. We've got two semantic sets now. And the idea that pen is linked to the instrument that it came from, the physical object it came from, is completely gone. So two different kinds of simple lexical change. It gets more complicated when you get to grammar. And the grammatical one that I decided to talk about is something I worked on a lot quite early. In fact, my first undergraduate paper was on the French subjunctive. And I kept going on it for a long time. Put it away for a while, and I've just started coming back to it. So I'm sort of feeling my way through this part as a better than anything I wrote in the past about how to grasp changes in the subjunctive, developments in the subjunctive. Is there anyone here who has simply no idea what the subjunctive is? Good, then I can go on from here. If you know what the subjunctive is and you've studied it in other languages than English, you know it is a very complex grammatical category with a large number of meanings. The subjunctive itself and the construction using the subjunctive designate a wide range of things. Certainly in Western languages, in Romance languages, in German, in the Germanic languages. I'm not sure about Semitic. Does Semitic have a subjunctive?
No.
No? Okay. It has been, and part of the complexity, part of the reason that it is changing and ever-changing is because of the complexity. It's just very hard to keep track of, though there are different degrees of disappearance. English, of course, you have to know where to look. I doubt that it's ever taught in English anymore. Your best examples are a couple of fixed expressions like long live the king, meaning may the king live a long time. And the very, very, very common God bless you, which is a wish. Note that in both cases in English, it's not the king lives, present tense with the nice S, or God blesses you. It's an expression of a wish. It's best rendered as may the king live a long time, may God bless you. But you don't need that. I mean, the subjunctive by itself gives the idea that it gives you the meaning of hope, wish, etc. I'll go back to hope later. You also get it in English, particularly certain kinds of journalistic English, certainly with the verb to be. It is important that this Congress be mindful of X, Y, or Z. That be after it is important, that is a subjunctive. If you didn't know that, that's your other fact for today. In Latin, it was a very complex category. Now I'm going to my stuff, which is the history of French, starting with Latin. Complex and ever-shrinking category. So that Latin, particularly classical Latin, had a subjunctive, for example, when you didn't want to take responsibility for what you were saying. It was indirect discourse, and you're saying, somebody else told me this, and I'm not taking responsibility. It may be right, it may be wrong. It is said that, phrases like that with the subjunctive. Modern Italian has some of that, I think. Modern French does not. Spanish does not. Other kinds, Old French still had a little bit of indirect reporting with the subjunctive. In modern French, if you're stating beliefs, you use the subjunctive after negative beliefs, I don't believe that, or after questions, do you believe that? In Old French, it was used in positives, and I gave you an example in 4a, where je crois, I used to believe, is followed by the subjunctive. Not a negative, not a question, but still the subjunctive, because I would argue, and I'll show you this in another couple of them, the subjunctive is being used for, excuse me, the subjunctive is being used for expressions where you're not sure of the outcome, and various other kinds of expressions like that. I would say that if you wanted to schematize the subjunctive in Old French, give an abstract meaning that takes account of at least most of the uses, it would be something like uncertainty of outcome. And with beliefs, well, if you're stating an opinion, you can't be sure. Je ne sais que faire. I don't know what to do.